Can we start just by you giving us an injury update?
Who would you like to know about?
Well, Nathan Williams, obviously, and Corey Philly Brown.
So would I. Don't know exactly. I mean, Philly, we'll see how he runs around out there today. Hopefully he'll be all right. That's what we were expecting, as a Nebraska return, but we don't know for sure on that. Nathan, I'm not sure. I would probably say doubt. I would doubt it from what I saw on Sunday. So, but again, things can change in the next 2 days. But he doesn't look good, and Philly would hopefully be all right.
And just we've discussed this also, but I mean, you're blending in a couple of players that you haven't had. Is that a touchy situation for a coach to play your best players, but at the same time be true to the people who've been around for the whole time and gone through 5 games for you already?
Yeah, I think it is, but those guys have been a part of the team. Those guys have been a part of the program. It's not like they were gone and distant. Those guys all have the utmost respect for those guys and how they've worked and how they've handled their situations. So, each one will be handled, in the way that we best need to be handled for the team. But definitely take into consideration that obviously that we're not throwing anybody away that's been in there, and we're going to continue to move forward. So, but it is a situation that, believe me, that is addressed, and but our guys probably have as much respect for those guys and the way they've done everything, the way they've handled everything, so that makes it that much easier.
Luke, talking to some of the guys post-game on Saturday with the loss, the one thing that kind of gave them a little bit of solace was the fact that they were going to get guys back, DeVere and Dan, of course. Obviously, you had to address the team yesterday and tell them that they wouldn't be. What was the reaction to the team? How do you keep spirits up when there was something that they were kind of pointing towards?
I mean, that's what you got to do. I mean, we probably went ahead and went with our 3 points of wisdom from John Wood, and it said, don't whine, don't complain, and don't make excuses. And I think, that's what we've got to be able to do. And it starts from the top down, with all of us as coaches. So, is it a kick? Is it something that's not easy? Yeah, we all feel that way. But, we also got to look at the things we are getting. So, you got your Mike Adams and your Solomon Thomas. And so those are the things you still got to focus on. How many times have we said we're going to focus on what we have and not what we don't have? We're going to focus on moving forward. And, that's what we have to do. So we're not going to make excuses for guys. We're not going to allow them to be down. We're not going to do that as coaches. We're not going to do that as a team. And we believe everybody will follow suit.
Luke, regardless of what the NCAA rules, will DeVere Posey and Dan Herron remain on this football team going forward?
Yeah.
Have you, as head coach, given any consideration to removing multiple-time NCAA violators from the team?
Well, this is still something that's undergoing, and I don't know. I don't have all the information that they're going through probably just as of yet, but not that I've seen anything that we wouldn't want a guy around right now.
Would you have that option if you wanted it as the head coach?
I'm sure we would.
Ability?
I'm sure we would talk about that as a team, as a staff. But again, those guys are a part of who we are right now. They're a part of what we do, and we need each and every one of them in whatever role they have.
Real quick, another injury update for Alana Reed. What's his status? And more fundamentally, when you watch the tape, especially of the offense, and saw the difficulty, when you look at, is it a scheme issue? Is it just the fact you've got a freshman quarterback and he's limited? When you analyze it, what can be done?
Well, with Verlon, he has torn his ACL and pretty much everything in his knee, so he will be done for the year. So he'll be out. Offensively wise, it's a lot of things. I mean, again, we got to put ourselves in those situations that we can give ourselves a little more help. And I just mean in a situation where, whether you can play from a lead, whether you can run the football a little bit more, have the ability to take advantage of some of the things that the guys are doing against us, it's a whole. You can't point a finger just saying, well, it was the quarterback, well, it was the offensive line, well, it was the wideouts not getting open, well, it was the call. It's a combination of everything, but it still comes down to we got to figure out what it is that we do well and continue to do those things and find out how we can get better at those things that we can do well. So it's a combination of all, whether it's a scheme, whether it's a guy finding the open receiver, whether it's a guy picking up a blitz.
Were you satisfied with the level of adjustments that you guys were trying to make in the Michigan State game?
I mean, again, when you don't win, you don't like your adjustments. When you do win, I mean, sometimes your adjustments look a little bit better. But we need to do a better job. We need to do a better job adjusting defensively. We need to do a better job defensively making some of those big plays that maybe turn into a touchdown. We got a couple picks that, could have been changers in the game. We got a chance to block a punt that goes over the guys, through the guy's hands early in the game. That really, with a young group, a lot is an emotional factor. A lot is on how the ball is rolling, just with the type of group you have. And so I think that's a big factor. But again, there's a lot of areas. We got to figure out what it is and how we can get the ball to the guys we need to get the ball to.
Luke, Braxton's listed as the starter on the depth chart this week. Will you have a quicker hook this week? You looked for a spark last week, but you waited, further into the game. Will you have a quicker hook if it doesn't go well offensively?
No, I don't think we don't want a guy going in thinking that by any means. We told those guys we're probably going to need them both throughout the year. How are we going to do that? I don't know. Braxton is the guy that right now is our starting quarterback. And, I think hook-wise is, we don't want him to ever think that. I think it just came into a situation for what they were doing and what we needed to do at the time. We made the change, but I wouldn't say that there's a hook. There's something we're looking for. If it doesn't happen in the first couple series or whatever, we're going to change. No, we just got to know we got to get better. We got to be able to put them in some situations, and ultimately we got to make a couple plays because, whether you're 18 years old or you're 22 years old, if you get some emotion and you get some adrenaline and you get a few good things that happen to you, sometimes that ball begins to roll a little bit more. And but I don't ever want him to think that, hey, you got a short leash. We don't have enough confidence and faith in you.
Luke, looking back at some of the offensive line problems, the 9 sacks, A, what did you detect the issue was? And B, with Mike Adams coming back, how much can he help maybe hopefully steady things up front there?
Well, it's a combination of things. Like I said, there are times when they're bringing more guys than you can protect, and that might be on the quarterback to get the ball off. And then there's some times that they brought something where, we got locked on or we got grabbed and the guy comes around, comes free. So there's a lot of different things there. We know we've got to do a better job. The only reason I say we got to even do a greater job up front is because those are the guys we got to count on. Those are the seniors, and those are the guys that got to take a little bit more weight on their shoulders, and they feel the same way. They know they've got to do a better job, but you can't just, like I said, it's not as easy just to point a finger at one time, because sometimes they're bringing something that you cannot protect. And then in that case, you either got to get out of it or you need to get the ball off right now. So, we all know we need to get better. We're going to be critical of ourselves. We're going to be hard on ourselves, and we're going to find a way to get better. You hope, again, I think one thing that Mike will bring to us, too, is some confidence. He's a guy that is a good leader. He's a guy that plays with that confidence level. So adding him back into the mix will do nothing but help us up front. Obviously, he's a very good football player, but I don't think that the continuity of things, that just because he hadn't been in there for a while, would be anything that worries us. Those guys have all seen him battle and fight and how he's handled this whole situation, and I think it'll be a boost for us.
Yeah, Luke, how did you, a lot of fans want to know, how did you express your displeasure, I guess, to your offensive staff and your offense after Saturday? And number two, a lot of people think that you could have more input, more influence on the offense if you wanted to. I'm just wondering, is that the case? Are you giving them some input about things you want to see now that you weren't doing maybe 3 weeks ago?
Well, I don't know if I did get upset with him that I would come in here and tell you about how I got upset with him. So I thought you'd ask too. So I just thought I'd give you that straight answer. We all have opinions, we sit as a group, we sit as a staff. I sit with them a little bit and go over some things. Don't get me wrong, man. They look at the film and they see things that in areas that they could have gotten a lot better, and they've got ideas when it's all said and done. The key is that we still stay with our core fundamentals, and that we continue to preach that we're going to get better in our fundamentals. Technique-wise, we're going to play with great toughness. We're going to hustle everywhere, and those things that we're going to lack, we're going to make up with emotion and toughness. And those are the things that ultimately that I'm going to hound on. As opposed to what exactly X's and O's they're doing. We all have some opinions. We got to do what our guys understand. I think that's the most important thing, so that they have a chance. Now, whether it's fancy and whether it looks great to everybody else, we got to be able to do what they can do and they can understand. But I can assure you we can play with great technique and toughness, and those are the things we're going to continue to harp on.
Luke, how well do you know Bo? How long do you guys go back, your familiarity with him? And then obviously he was not pleased on Saturday with what their defense did with Wisconsin. What do you expect to see out of Nebraska defensively Saturday?
I don't know him all that well. We didn't cross paths here at Ohio State. I think he was gone a few years or so before I got here. Have met him, obviously, in the coaching profession. Spent a little bit of time with him, maybe when he was at LSU or even when he visited up here. But anytime you're a Buckeye, you've got a connection. So naturally you know each other in some way, or know a lot of people that know each other. I know what kind of personality he has, and obviously he's not going to be real happy about how that went last week, especially probably defensively. So, I would imagine they're not going to change a whole lot of who they are and what they do, but I imagine they'll get back to the base fundamentals of pressuring and doing some things like that. And everybody's going to take a peek at what how Michigan State affected us. And when you got a young guy back there, a lot of times you're going to bring pressure and heat and try and make him make decisions very quick.
Just a quick follow-up. This is obviously going to be a lot of emotion for them as well. Their first Big Ten game at home. It's a night game, all those things. How do you get your team prepared? And you're playing a lot of young guys again. How do you get them ready for what will be difficult circumstances?
If you can't get ready to play in a game like this at night in Lincoln State, then you're probably in the wrong place. Now, again, with that being said, the preparation starts really Sunday night. And that's the thing that we want to make sure our guys understand, is that from Sunday night till we take off out of here on Friday, they know what to expect. They've seen it. What they see on film, they're going to get a little bit more. And it's our job to make sure they understand when they walk in there what they're going to expect. But emotionally, our guys are competitors. And come Saturday, I promise you they'll be fired up and excited to play. The key is do they understand what they're doing, what it's going to take from Sunday till Thursday.
Luke, a little bit uncharted waters, because this will be the first time ever Ohio State's gone out there. As you prepare the guys, are you trying to find out what the atmosphere is going to be like? What have you been able to find out? What do you expect it's going to be like there Saturday night?
No, we've looked into that. We looked into that a lot in the summer and talked to people that have played out there, and I think that's why our guys are excited about it. It's a lot of people say like playing maybe at Wisconsin at night. So we've been there, we've seen that, but again, you don't exactly know till you're there. So we try to over prepare them in what they might get mentally. That's the most important thing, But again, until you're there, until you've seen it, until you do it, I don't know if we can throw in there crowd noise or do something specific that throw things at them like it could happen. I have not heard that, but So again, most important thing is we prepare them mentally. To know what to expect, whether it's a hostile environment, the emotions, you try to put that heat on them in practice because of the emotions that they're going to have because of the, the hype of the game.
You talked about no whining, no complaining, but you're talking about 18 to 22-year-old kids who've been through the emotional ringer, had a couple tough losses. Is it easier said than done? How concerned are you that things mentally, that they're not where they need to be?
Well, we still believe that they'll live up to what you expect of them. And, if you as a leader stand up there and whine a little bit and complain a little bit just in your own way, then yeah, they will. But, we can't make excuses for them. And just because they're young, we can't sit there and make excuses. We argue about that on Sunday nights sometimes. Well, this guy doesn't tackle well. He's probably not going to tackle well because he's not a big guy. Well, don't make excuses for him. So we're not going to make any excuses for him. We're not going to allow him to do that. What are they thinking? That's ultimately what they have to be able to control. But I promise you what we put in front of them won't be any whining, won't be any complaining, won't be any excuses.
Do you sense, can you give a sense of their mood as a team?
You know what? Again, we got competitors. I think the guys, when they walk out of the room, maybe yesterday they were down, but hey, next one, next play, next time, and that's the motto we've got to have, and it'll be interesting. We go out there today, there won't be a head down. There won't be anybody whining or moping about it. And it'll start from the top down. And, we won't accept it and we won't allow it.
Yeah, Luke, needless to say, this has been a unsettling time for Buckeye football. Probably not what you signed up for. Just curious how this has hurt you as an alum and the current caretaker of the program to have to go through this.
I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, but You know, I mean, there's situations and things you're going to have to go through in life. I mean, do we like them? No. Do we love them? No. But they are what they are, you know, and this is what's going to make us better. And we got to make sure our guys understand that. You know, we're not going to, you know, we maybe have not been in this situation, and these guys here, these young men, have not been in a situation, you know, where like this, whether it's on the field or off the field. But it's nothing more than a life lesson, you know, and I'm not going to worry about how I feel as an alum or how I feel as a former Buckeye. That doesn't come into it. I worry about what those guys think and what they feel. And as a leader, we're going to stand up there and we're going to demand that they, you know, make no excuses. If they don't whine, they don't complain.
In the 90s, Nebraska had a reputation. Their fans were some of the most sportsmanlike in the country. Of course, they were winning 2.5 national championships then. Apparently, that's changed due to the Callahan era and their relationship with Texas in the Big 12. You hear anything about nastiness from the fans out there, that things have changed?
No, nope. I can't say that I've ever been out there firsthand. I've been out there for wrestling. That's about it. You know, and I didn't sense that there. But talking with Pat Hill, he you know, or I didn't talk to him, but one of our guys did. He said, you know what, their fans are good. I mean, they're loud, they get after it, but they're not obnoxious by any means.
Luke, when there's a game like Saturday where the defense holds Michigan State to 10 points and the offense struggles for whatever reason, is there a challenge to make sure the guys on defense, there's no finger pointing? Does it get like that? And have you sensed any of that, I guess, from your group? Do you feel like everybody's still together? Hey, they're working through their problems. We'll be all right.
You know what? That's what we see. And that's what we preach, and that's what we talk about. You know, we had a motto 2 years ago on defense. It was no blames, no names, no blame, no worries. You know, and it's kind of the same things that we've kind of just said to them is, you know, you win as a team, you lose as a team. You know, there's all areas where we could have found things that we could have done better. You know, do by nature guys have excuses in their head? You know, maybe, but we're not going to tolerate it. We're not going to allow it. We're not going to accept it. You know, and there's going to be a point in time when the offense is going to be in a situation that they're going to have to pick up for us or for the defensive side of the ball. But, you know, that's what you do. You stay together, you play together, you win together, you lose together, and you can't let those things affect you. I know that you think about them as an outside, and we think about them as coaches, okay? And we try and tell them nothing goes unnoticed. So, you know, those are things that we watch and we look for and we see. And if we do see them, we would be on them right away. But it starts with us. It starts with us as coaches. We would never allow ourselves to do those kinds of things. We would never allow ourselves to think those kinds of things. And again, we believe they live up to what we believe of them, and they'll take follow.
Luke, over here. My curiosity is on first down. As a defensive coordinator, as a defensive guy, how difficult it is to defend a team that you have no idea what they're going to do on first down, whether they will pass or throw. And does that concern you as you look at your offense, their ability to throw on first down, the confidence in Braxton and the offense to try to put the ball in the air? Is that a concern, or is that something that maybe is just a little bit overrated?
No, it is, but you still got to do what you do. We all know that we got to have balance, and I think that's where it starts with. And you got to evaluate yourself and how you can get more balanced in what you do. You know, but then again, those teams are going to do certain things on first down, so you know, you got to be able to attack that as well. But we all know that 2nd and 3 or 2nd and 4 is a lot easier than 2nd and 9. As you can tell with their long touchdown pass last week, it was 2nd and 2. You know, so they got a lot of options. So we didn't do a great job on first down, and that put us in a situation where they can take a shot. So yeah, we talk about those things. We know those things. We evaluate our stats and where we are and what we've done on 1st and 10 and P and 10, and we're always trying to be balanced. Now we got to do a better job, but you also got to be able to take what people give you. And some of those runs are probably checked because of the situation.
Luke, you guys had a lot of success last year with Denard, keeping him down a little bit. Taylor Martinez provides similar problems in that he's a better runner right now than he is a passer. How much can you lean on the success you had against Michigan and with Denard last year and apply it to this week with Taylor, and what challenges does he provide to defense?
It provides a lot of challenges. I mean, I think, you know, again, it starts up front for him. You know, and that's what they do a very good job of. Is obviously he can run, and I'm not sure there's probably anybody on their team that's faster than him. But you know, you know what you got to do. But it starts for them up front. When they can get on you, they can get those guys pulled around the edges. They can get you strung out on some option things. Martinez is going to be a very, very tough guy to catch, obviously, if you let him get going. So again, it's different. It's much different than what a Michigan was last year with how they ran Denard. This is still a lot of times with the two backs in the backfield with guards pulling, with maybe a little bit more of the older traditional, some of the Nebraska stuff that maybe in the past they've done. But it's definitely, the thing is you can't just focus on him, and yes, he runs, and yes, he does all those things, but those guys up front really are what starts it for him.
Brandon.
Luke, did you notice any frustration with the actual players offensively with maybe what was not going well for them? And have you guys developed the kind of leadership from the guys who were able to play on Saturdays that you wanted to see in this team at this point in the year?
Anybody who's a competitor, gets frustrated. Now how you show those emotions, everybody's different. And we've got to make sure guys understand how they, need to control their emotions, especially on a game day. But it's frustrating. If you're a competitor and things aren't going well for you, I hope you're frustrated. If you're not frustrated, then you would be a little bit more worried. But you can't just look and have an idea of just because of their facial expressions or how they act, just because a guy's not spiking his helmet doesn't mean he's not frustrated, or just because a guy is spiking his helmet, doesn't mean, oh man, he's such a competitor and he's frustrated. There's some different things to it. And leadership has continued to be developed. I think there's definitely guys that are stepping up, and I think we saw that this past week, and we'll see that in the locker room with everything right now. If you wait until Saturday to find that leadership, that's when it becomes a little bit more difficult.
Luke, I know that you're not going to whine about it or complain about it, but a lot of the problems this year are caused by the suspensions and the fact that guys are not here. How have all of those suspensions, the news that you got yesterday, the news that you got in the first couple of weeks of the season, made you a better football coach, made your staff better, more creative, whatever it may be, given the fact that you're playing with one arm tied behind your back many times?
We don't look at it like that, but it just, what it does? It makes us have to continue to coach. It makes us have to develop guys. And that's what teaching and coaching is all about. Whether we got 54 or 53 days left till Michigan, whether if we can develop them and continue to coach them and make them better football players, whether we have guys at the end of the year or we don't have guys, you're going to lose guys because of injuries. So, I think that's when you just go back to your roots and your basis and say, hey, what's going to make us good? It's not going to be us designing every perfect little scheme and, okay, well, they do this, so we can do this. Maybe we aren't in that situation. If we had a fifth-year quarterback or a fourth-year quarterback or a fourth-year middle linebacker that can check us out of a lot of things, so really what it does, it makes us a better coach because you know what? You go back to what it really means. You coach fundamentals and you get back to just being tough. And that's what you want to see on Saturday anyway.
And in some odd way, has it accelerated your path as a better head coach, a better leader perhaps, because you've had to deal with all these different things that are coming down the pike?
Who knows? In the long run, you'll see. Obviously, there's a lot of things that maybe you didn't know what to expect. And there's probably a lot of coaches that have been coaching a long time that have never been in this situation. But then again, there's a lot of coaches that have been coaching a long time and never been in a national championship game. So not that you wouldn't know how they would respond. And then there's some guys that, getting a national championship game is the first year or second year as a coach. I guess you got to go through them to be able to handle them. And then the next time you go through them, hopefully you're better at whatever you're doing. That's when you probably evaluate yourself to see if you got better at what you do.
Yeah, Luke, do you get the sense there's still a chance you could have Boom Herron for Saturday?
I don't go into hypothetical situations,
Okay.
I don't know anything about that.
All right. And then number two, when you look at Nebraska and their defense, they get a lot of publicity about being the black shirts, et cetera, but they've been ripped pretty good a few times, even this year and stuff. What do you see about their defense that concerns you, et cetera? What just stands out about it right now?
I think they're physical. They're definitely guys up. It starts up front for them. They're going to get on you, the same type of things. They're going to be on you. They're going to be pressed up in a lot of their coverage stuff, and they're going to be physical up front. I think that's probably what they pride themselves on the most is, he's not exactly, Coach Pelini's not going to be a huge scheme type of guy. When he comes down to it, it's going to be about being physical, being tough, playing with great technique, making people beat you with, something different or something new. They're going to be well coached up. And I think that's probably, what you see from them. Yes, maybe they've given up some things, but that happens at times. That just means they're going to get back to the base fundamentals of what they do best, and they're probably going to be more physical, tougher, and play with a lot better fundamentals.
Coach, we obviously know Nebraska is new to the Big Ten. Is it tough preparing to face a team that you're not used to seeing?
I mean, you do it every year. I mean, whether it's a preseason game, whether it's a bowl game. I mean, you do a lot of preparation outside of the season, just trying to understand who they are, what they're about. But a program like that you've watched and studied over the years, just because of who they are, you know a bit more about them. So I don't think that's what makes it. That doesn't make it any more difficult than what they do each and every year. Because from what they did last year to this year, offensively is going to be a bit different.
A few more questions, Michael.
Coach, obviously Nebraska wants to show to the world that they can compete in the Big Ten. Wisconsin denied them that in a big way this past weekend, and probably no Big Ten team wants to be the first to lose to Wisconsin, to Nebraska. Can you use that as a tool? Would you want to use that as a tool, as an emotional tool against a team like that?
I don't think you ever use not wanting to lose. If you go in there not wanting to lose or fearing losing, then I don't know that would ever be a motivational type of tool. We're going to focus on what we do, figuring out how we can get better, and focus, like I said, on us, not trying to find something worried about losing. It's just can't be a thought process for any of us.
Matt?
Real quick about Solomon Thomas. He's not listed in the 2 deep, but do you figure that he will work his way into the defensive line rotation, Saturday and beyond?
I would hope so. Again, we got to see how he competes and works out there right now, starting today. So, you would hope so, and hopefully we would see him in some situations. But again, he's been dinged up as well. Broke his leg in the spring game, and has been just getting back from that. So, that's one of those things that's what Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are all about.
Are Mike Adams and Andrew Norwell only left tackles right now, or could either or both of them see time at other spots on the offensive line Saturday?
No, those guys. That's what I've always liked. What Coach Bowles has been able to do. He teaches it as a system. So those guys are able to move around, and if they have to go from left tackle to right tackle, from left guard to right guard, they understand it as a system. So those guys have the ability to be able to move around. Now, obviously, you get more comfortable playing the position that you're used to playing. But they have that ability to make sure that we can keep the best 5 on the field.
Is Andrew Norwell, he's listed as behind Mike now. Do you think Andrew Norwell is one of your best 5?
What's that?
Is Andrew Norwell one of your best 5 linemen?
They get the updated one, Jerry?
Yeah, he's also listed as a starter.
Oh, well, then he just maybe go look at it.
Yeah, he's a starter at one.
I'll double check that.
Okay.
Try. Specifically.
Andy.
He's listed as a starter at left guard.
That's a good call.
Okay, well, that's why we do all the days.
Specifically on the game plan offensively, again, for Michigan State,
come up with a new one.
Why did you offensively not run more screens or draws or misdirection runs or short passes or something that may have slowed down Michigan State's pressure on you guys?
Well, we could get into X's and O's and how deep you really want to go into it. I don't, again, this is not the time or the place, but you just probably got to understand that sometimes when you have a running quarterback, it's a little bit more difficult to throw screens. Yes, they sacked you 9 times, and yes, they're bringing heat, but understand that somebody is control rushing because of the scrambling quarterback. Now, I'm not saying that you can't still run a screen. I'm not saying that that's impossible to run a screen, but just defensively, at times, if it is a running quarterback, I can assure you that there's somebody there might be 3 guys coming up the middle, but there's probably 2 on the edges that are just hanging for him to break contain. So, yes, there's 9 sacks. Obviously, you would say, hey, throw some screens, slow them down a little bit, and we did. We called a couple, and you guys might think that they were just sacks, but that wasn't just the line letting those guys through at times. The back was eaten up by the guy rushing because that's what he's looking for. So, yes, there are some ideas. Yes, we all have some ideas. We all have opinions of it. But those things we do try to do. We just got to do a better job of them.
The game plan then that you did use Saturday, if it's executed better, generally can that type of offensive game plan work with the personnel you have right now, or do you feel like, no, there are definitely things that have to change from that?
I think we got to be able to make adjustments. There are some open receivers. There's some guys that we got to find. Like I said, don't take any credit away from what those guys did against us as well. But if you pop it on and you watch, you can definitely see that there are some things. Ooh, man, they might not be real sound right here. Well, they might, but pressure can do that to you. So a lot of times that ball gets rolling and you don't make the plays you need to make. But that's ultimately what it comes down to. that the guys are going to bring that kind of pressure, there's still some things you have to be able to attack and got to be able to make a couple plays. And I promise you, if you make a couple plays, they stop bringing the pressure. And, we just didn't do it. So, is it completely a game plan thing? Is it completely, a not executing thing? It's all together. So we all take the blame.
Bill, and then Lori.
Doug kind of stole my question, but I'll adjust.
His made-up one that he after it?
No, not the normal one. I knew that.
Alignment? All right.
It's the nature of his job. The offensive coordinator always gets the brunt of criticism. But Jim Bowman is getting criticized. What would you want to say to people who question him?
Hey, we all don't like where we are. We all know there's ways we need to get better, and criticism. Criticism I handle a lot better than I do praise. So it just makes me mad. It makes me work harder. It makes me do things a little bit more, but you can't let it affect you. You got to continue to get better. He understands what we need to do. We just got to do a better job at figuring out what our guys can do and what our guys can handle. And we will. And there's going to be growing pains and there's going to be things, and nothing that a good offensive performance or a good win won't make up for. But if we sit and worry about all the people that criticize us, we stay up late at night worrying about that instead of actually doing what we need to do. So we can't let that affect us.
Lori?
Luke, because your guys are competitors and because they're not happy with where they are as opposed to where they'd like to be, do you worry about them starting to question what they're being asked to do, or do you feel they're totally bought in?
No, they're in, and I think that's that goes with all the work. If you don't understand the program and how much you work in the off season to do the things that you do, then you wouldn't be here. So we don't believe that of them. We wouldn't. There's no leadership that would push them that way. There's no fragmentation in the group. But we always say that when adversity hits, just like we've talked about in the summer, when things happen, when we lose a game, when other adversities happen, the circle becomes tighter and tighter, and you got to pull closer and closer. And if there are people that are on the edge, they become more noticeable. So we don't see them, and if there are, then obviously they'll be a lot more noticeable as adversity hits. So we'll be able to handle those things, but that'll be handled as a team.
You're a guy that preaches getting better. In what ways do you see this team has improved from week one, Luke?
Our confidence level. I think that understanding what we do, fundamentally we're getting better. We're tackling better defensively. You can't account for some of the situations that, injuries and those kinds of things. There's a lot of young guys getting a lot better, and you can see it from day to day. It might not show up always on Saturday, because a guy doesn't have a big catch or doesn't have a touchdown, but they're the little things that we're making sure that might not come up in the stats that we're pointing out so that they understand, hey, you still have confidence in what you're doing. You're getting better, and don't think those things aren't going unnoticed as well.
Thank you.